Welcome to Conversation with Zaki Baruti, with your host Zaki Baruti. And like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family. What's happening? To the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's going on? And to New Life Evangelistic Center family headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to our amazing cameraman. On that note, we'll have another great show, because in studio with me is a young brother that I have so much respect for, who's been out on the streets involved in trying to make a difference in our communities, not only here in Missouri, but the nation as well as international. And I'm speaking none other than good brother Tory Russell. What's going on, my young brother? How you doing today? Okay then. Now, one thing I failed to mention in terms of you are the founder of a couple of organizations, International what?
Black Freedom Alliance.
International Black Freedom Alliance, as well as Black Voices.
Black Voices Network, the communication arm of the Pan-African movement, trying to bring masses of our people to listen to our voices and really see what we have to say about what's happening, from Trump to local politics to what's happening in Ghana to Australia. So
okay, and we'll be hitting some of those points. But before we do, I always start my shows off with my guests for the people to know a little bit about that person's background. Share wherever you want people to know about Tory Russell, a little bit of your background. I know it's extensive, but, a snippet of it.
All right, I'm a West Side baby.
A West Side baby
I'm a
of
St. Louis, West Side baby, Chamberlain. I grew up around Cabinet Courts. Did later became like a more black middle class, working class. I call it precarious middle class. We got doctors, opera singers. Grace Bixby was around the corner from us, but we also had drug dealers and bus drivers and teachers trying to figure out how to pay these bills in these big brick houses that we kind of inherited over the 60s and 70s after moving from Mill Creek and other parts of the city. So that's where my family come from. And then we go down Mississippi, Natchez. We go down to Birmingham in Alabama, and then we make our way from South Carolina down to Senegal and Mali and Burkina Faso.
All the way back. Okay, then. Okay, you're tracing it all the way back.
Yes, sir.
Okay, on that note, just for our audience's sake, we met actually out on the streets of Ferguson during the Ferguson uprising that came as an extension of the murder and assassination of Mike Brown Jr. Reflections of that time period.
Reflections mean you, or reflections of the time?
Just generally of that time. And I guess you can throw in a dash of Zaki at the age I was hanging out with you young brothers.
I was a baby out there. Of course I grew up knowing you, Auntie Shaheed, Onion Harden, Mama Jamala Rogers. My father took us up to somewhere at City Hall. You was on City Hall. I was like 8 or 9. I was like, okay. Just talking about the school and other things that you would do around the city. So for me, going from just protest body marcher to I'm on the podium with Zaki Baruti on the left and Brother Shaheed, and this world news is kind of like you took the kid off the court and threw him in the NBA one day. So that's how I felt. Because y'all was hooping already. Y'all done had numbers. This my first one. Right. This LeBron. Just throw me in here.
Right. So out of that experience, what would you share one of the key lessons that you got from that experience in terms of being involved in the movement and as an encouragement for others?
Leadership look differently when you in that fire.
Leadership looks different when you're in that fire. Okay, then.
Different.
Okay.
It looked different. It looked different in that moment, right? Like the pictures that we got together don't orchestrate, it don't really describe the meeting right before we go into the fire station. Where we're like, no, it's the strategy of things, right? But in the fire, you got people yelling, you got the news, but it don't look like, but the picture come out and make it look different. So I think that's one thing. And then another one is, I think reluctant leaders make the greatest leaders because they're going to ask the followers, where should we go next? And I think I witnessed you kind of lean on the youth, and then we lean on you with your wisdom out there in Ferguson. It kind of made it a good balance to kind of create a whole movement that we see now.
Okay, and let me salute you, because many times people get involved in the movement, but they fall aside, you know, and I always share with any young persons that if you get in the movement, you got to have a great love for the people, because if you don't have a love for the people, there's so many dynamics that make you say, hey, I'm going to leave this stuff alone. You know, would you agree to that statement?
100%.
Okay, then. So I salute you for staying in the movement. And part of staying in the movement, you created the organization International Black Freedom Alliance. Now, what is the concept of the International Black Freedom Alliance?
To liberate all black people around the world.
Okay.
And free all people from oppression worldwide.
Now, there would be those who say, aren't black people already free and liberated? And what would be your response to that?
I mean, you can turn on your TV or your social media or look outside your window. The things that you are seeing happening to black people don't happen to free people.
Okay, all right. Now, also, along with you getting involved, which I always encourage people to see the world, because God has blessed me extensively in seeing the world and meeting some super powerful leaders over the years. Have you engaged in travel to broaden your horizon of the movement?
Yeah.
Internationally?
Yeah, internationally. First, maybe 60 days after Ferguson, some of the elders, Mukasa Dada, which is Willie Ricks, formerly Willie Ricks and SNCC. And
who
others.
worked closely with Stokely Carmichael, who eventually changed the name Kwame Ture.
Who worked with Kwame Nkrumah.
Right.
Who went to HBCU Lincoln University in the United States of America and joined Sigma fraternity.
Right.
All that cross-pollination is kind of what I did early on in Ferguson. So I went to Atlanta, met with the elders, and then months later I went to Brazil, stayed 6 weeks in Brazil, learning political education from Quilombos and other Africans and other movements, from Turks, from Australian Aboriginals, all kinds of people. So, you know, we were just learning, and then I came back in 2016. We had a Pan-African conference in Zambia, and I was talking to Mama Julia on the phone, and she was like, well, what is the elder saying? I said, they're not asking me anything yet. They just looking at me. So when I came back in the room, I said, well, I'm here. What do I want me to do? They said, create a Pan-African organization to link with the elders, and then we'll come together later.
So you were at a Pan-African Congress meeting in Zambia?
In Zambia,
okay,
in South Africa in 2016.
I know that's right, because my first Pan-African conference was in Uganda in the early 90s, but we'll talk more about it on the other side of the break.
Just drive downtown St. Louis, drive by City Hall, and you'll see, what do they do? For a year now, a fence is all the way around City Hall and neighboring parks to keep the homeless people out. You talk about a visible enlightenment as to NIMBY and how it exists. Just take a look at St. Louis City Hall. Not in my backyard is what they're saying, but they're not alone. So many other people are saying, not in my backyard when it comes to the hurting and the homeless. So where are they going to go? What are they going to do? We haven't seen a single new shelter open in the city of St. Louis for 15 years due to something called plat and petition. And it's not just the city of St. Louis, it's St. Louis County, Jefferson County, Franklin County, Madison County, St. Clair County in Illinois. What are they doing? They want to ship their homeless to St. Louis. That's wrong. We have to see each county taking care of their own homeless people. And that's why we may have to file a lawsuit in the near future against Jefferson County and St. Charles County and St. Louis County to take care of their own homeless according to Missouri state law and start shipping it everywhere else. Well, in the meantime, we need your help here at New Life Evangelistic Center. We receive no city, state, or federal dollars. Our teams are out every day among the poorest of the poor. They don't need our excuses. They need direct help. We are having to distribute hundreds and hundreds of sandwiches, hundreds and hundreds of bottles of water. We urgently need water. You can bring it to 806 North Jefferson in Springfield or 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. There are so many hurting people. Yes, in Springfield we get 150, 200 homeless people a day, and most of them sleep outside. So we have to distribute tents and sleeping bags, and long underwear and gloves and socks and hats. Why don't you have a drive at your church and help us at this time? Further information, call us at 1-800-334-3276 or 314-421-3020. That's 314-421-3020. Go to the website at nlecstl.org, and your tax-deductible gifts are urgently needed now. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166.
When you partner with New Life Evangelistic Center, you impact so many people. The economy in this country is really hurting so many all over. And we're seeing the number of people who are experiencing homelessness rise. You can make a difference today by giving your gift online at newlifeevangelisticcenter.org. newlifeevangelisticcenter.org. Make a real big change in the lives of so many.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In the studio with me is Tory Russell, founder of the International Black Freedom Alliance, and also a political organization. And on the other side of the break, we were talking about some of your travels. Down 6 weeks in Brazil, and then you attended the Pan-African Congress in Namibia. Are there other parts of the world that you've been blessed to visit?
I have South Africa was a visit with the EFF.
Okay, what parts of South Africa were you in?
We went to the Eastern Cape.
Cape Town?
Yeah, we went to Cape Town, but Eastern Cape, Kalicha. We went to the township.
Did you get a chance to visit the prison where Nelson Mandela had
Robins Island, I did not. It was booked up. With Robins Island, it's booked up, so you got to do that in advance.
Okay.
I got to look at the building and the boat that goes to it. It's an island, look like Alcatraz.
Right, it was. I mean, I was blessed to go there.
Ooh.
Okay. All right, South Africa, where else?
And then we had a missionary trip. We stayed at a rural Catholic church in Zambia, and we drove 13 tons of rice to a village in Angola, experiencing the Civil War.
All right, that's great. Outside of Africa, have you been to, I know you said Brazil and South America. Where else you been?
Jamaica.
Yeah, man. Okay.
Yeah, man. Going to Duddy Bookman land and all of that. So feeding kids, we fed 1,000 kids with our books and breakfast program in Jamaica. Out there in the Grove, out there in the eastern part of the island. 2015, we did a European tour through London, Paris. Went through the slums of France.
Okay.
I didn't know how. I ain't know the hood in Paris looked like Chicago. Looked like the hood in St. Louis. And then we went up to Amsterdam, and then a socialist group brought me into Germany and Berlin, and then we went through rural Germany organizing black leftists through Eastern Europe.
You know, on travel, that's so exciting to me, you know, because I've been blessed, you know, extensively, about 36 countries. Why is it important, and then we'll get into some ideological issues, for folks to travel outside of the United States?
You got to see the world, man. Like we learned. We took a local rapper, T-Dub-O. He was part of our first group in Ferguson, Hands Up United, who started a lot of the programs that kind of spurred out, kind of like Lost Voices and these other groups kind of coming together. It's the youth movement, right? The other wing, right? The people who stayed up all night. Me and Tef was elected to go to the 9, 10 a.m. meetings. We just got in at 7 to 8. Okay. So, you know, so we was elected in those kind of ways. But T-Dub-O and Tef and other people coming out and doing some things in the community. But once they went to the slums of Mexico or Cuba, or see how they organizing in Australia and Sydney, you kind of get a different perspective beyond like what you could do with that green. Like, what is that green space really can be? Mm-hmm. How many people can it really feed, right? And then that's where we kind of expanded our worldview. So it kind of, you know, rips the veneer off and makes the TV not less TV movie made. Because you know you're making history if you kind of see something outside of what the TV gonna show you.
Okay, then. So with that said, then going back to some local issues, and then we'll hit a couple of international issues. In your mind, on the political, at the time of the murder of Mike Brown, Ferguson was 68% black, and you had a city council of 6 members, only 1 black member, and the mayor being white. And that's 68% black city. Yeah. But as an extension of that, you had a police force of 53, only 3 blacks. Has that changed? I mean, if
numbers. By the numbers, yes.
Yes.
Black mayor, black majority on the city council, black officers, black leadership, even had a police chief and captain. So, I mean, the representation has changed.
Has changed, okay. And that came out of really the protest movement. Recently in St. Louis, there has been a change as relates to who administers the policies of the St. Louis Police Department. At one hand, historically had been in the police department was headed by the state government. Then for a period of time it changed and it was headed locally by local officials. Now the state has taken over the police department again. Your views on that?
I think we keep saying the state, and I think that we need to kind of conceptualize that the Missouri State Republican Party is allowing the St. Louis Police Association to run the St. Louis Police Department. You could look at lobbying, you could look at relationships between the Republican Party. You could just look at the rhetoric between the police union and what they're pushing. It seems like it's echoed in the legislation. And so what this looks like is the same police who we had to go to battle with local police, St. Louis County county executives, Governor Jay Nixon at the time, even up to President Obama and Attorney General Holder. We had to fight for regulation. We had to fight for consent decrees. We had to put out policy and legislation that not only changed Ferguson, but St. Anne and other neighboring districts. We've seen 11 years later that the police is on their own rebellion. They on their own uprising. They just receive funding and complete control of their own autonomy of the police.
Yeah. Well, we got to take another break.
So many people are hurting and hopeless. They feel despondent and in despair. They are living on the streets in conditions that are horrible and not suitable for any human being. And it takes so many loving people to walk alongside them and give them opportunities to change. Zaki Baruti and his show is exposing the people who are making a real difference in our community. And he's been a faithful partner of New Life Evangelistic Center for many years. And I want to invite you to be like Zaki Baruti and make an impact in someone's life today. You can love others well, and you can do it in a meaningful and powerful way. I am so thankful for people who have partnered like Zaki, and I just want to share some of the impacts that you're really making when you partner with New Life Evangelistic Center. You're offering 365 days of care for a woman in need who's fleeing domestic abuse. You're offering not just care, but discipleship and mentorship and training services for her. Not only are you doing that, you're also getting hygiene kits and survival gears into the hand of people who need them, who are living on the streets of St. Louis. Not only that, but you're caring for orphans and widows in India, and you're preaching the gospel in every single one of these places, India, Ukraine, and all throughout mid-Missouri. You're also helping hundreds of people each day in the day center in Springfield. You're making a real impact on the lives of hundreds every single day. And you do that when you partner alongside New Life Evangelistic Center, along with faithful partners like Zaki Baruti. How I thank God for people like you for change.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is activist Tory Russell, who founded the International Black Freedom Alliance. Tory, before we switch, though, going back to state government, I just want to put it on record that Jamala Rogers, OBS, Organization for Black Struggle, myself, we had led an effort to get the state out of...
I was a kid.
Yeah, and we were able to. I'll never forget I was testifying up at Jeff City, and you have one group testifying for a change, another one against, and the head of the police union at that time, as I had testified for it, he was testifying against it, and his reason for being against the bill is because Zaki Baruti was for it. I'll never forget that. But past that, right. Internationally, There are some real deep movements that's taking place in the area that's called the Sahel, which includes Burkina Faso, the country of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger.
Yeah.
Okay. Your thoughts on what's happening there, and briefly give the audience as to what's happening there. And I encourage people to do diligent study around international issues also.
Well, this is the part where we kind of get into it, right?
Yeah.
In West Africa, there are 3 new leaders over Mali, Niger. Senegal is in this part, but also led by the military arm of Burkina Faso. And so what I was jokingly saying, my cousin, my West African cousin, Ibrahim Traore, right, in Burkina Faso, who's now the president, is inviting African Americans back, right, black people in the diaspora back, Africans back, because he sees the French as colonizers. No different from Thomas Sankara did from 84 to 87 before he was assassinated. And so I think what we're seeing is young leaders. I think the brother in Senegal is maybe 38, 39.
Yes, he's young too.
You're seeing some younger people. One is more economic, one is talking about military, one is talking about logistics, somebody's talking about, but where does Africans on this side come into play? I think we come into play economically. I think we come in to strengthen the workforce, but I also think we come in to live a life that's free of this Ferguson, this Trayvon, this persecution, man. I think that's what we're looking at, and I think greener pastures can happen if that conversation and connection can happen.
So has there been any outreach, say, from those progressive governments to black people here in this country as far as interaction?
Well, I mean, publicly, yes. Burkina Faso and others have welcomed Africans in the diaspora to come back and get automatic citizenship. That means, I just want to look at you now. So it's nobody saying anything. You could just pick your flight out. You can go from D.C. or New York. You get there and you're going to pay your money. And now you're a citizen of Burkina Faso. Okay? So that's what they're saying in the exchange. That's publicly. Well, we had our connection because we wanted to reach out and see what this is. They're saying that they have more than 1,000 EV cars. They have more than 10,000 houses available. They have public transportation. And they have free university for any African that comes back. Also, they have medical schools that they're looking to bring African and African Americans back home from some of these prestigious schools or some of these people in residency and go back home and do these things in West Africa. This is what they're inviting us publicly and privately to do, and I think every African should do it. Okay, then. So within that context, also, you have made mention, and I just want the audience to know in terms of colonizers, for folks to, and again, you need to know your history, because not only were black people taken out of Africa, Africa in and of itself was colonized, taken over by different European countries, which really came as a result of the Berlin Conference of 1894, that European countries such as England, France, Germany, Belgium, just divided Africa up into spheres of influence where they just took control of those countries and ran it. And most recently, though, with the new leader of Burkina Faso, they kicked the French out. Right. There's a change where black people are there in the country saying we don't run our country for ourselves. Would you agree? Yeah, 100%. Okay, then on that note, we're going to take another break.
Since 1972, New Life Evangelistic Center has been on the front lines, reaching out, helping the hurting, the homeless, the fatherless, the widowed throughout mid-America. Yes, although it's had its roots in St. Louis, it now has expanded throughout mid-America into India, Africa, Haiti, and other places around the world. Oh, what a history New Life Evangelistic Center has. And we have many of these history books available to you, and they're right there on Amazon. And if we can help you get one of those, you contact us at 314-421-3020. But in addition to all that, we want to share a lot of that history with you right here as we take a look at how the work began and how the Lord has taken us throughout the years and the miracles that we have seen, all because of caring people like you. You're part of the history of the New Life Evangelistic Center. And we're believing that 2025 is the year that the center is going to become alive and seeing the Lord do exceedingly beyond we can even ask or think. We're on the verge of miracles. Yes, New Life Evangelistic Center has a rich history, but there's much more yet to come. And that's why I'm inviting you to familiarize yourself with the history of the past and be a part of the miracles of the present.
Yes, let the Lord God Almighty work in you and through you. Let him do exceedingly beyond what you can ask or think. He's got a purpose for you. And we want you to be able to live out that purpose as you get directly involved in the History of New Life Evangelistic Center and what the Lord is doing now.
God loves a cheerful giver. Even though things are really tough right now, you can make a difference in the lives of so many. New Life has been doing this work for 50 years, and we have seen God's gracious goodness through people like you who have participated in this work. There are so many people who are suffering. More people are becoming homeless for the first time with the rising costs of inflation and food and housing and so many other commodities. We need help. You can make a difference today in the lives of so many by giving your tax-deductible gift to P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. Or go to newlifeevangelisticcenter.org or call to get involved in this incredible work.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. We only have a couple more minutes with Brother Tory Russell. Black Voices Network, what is that, and how can people who want to get involved and someone out there say, hey, I'm ready to be a pioneer and move to Africa or what have you, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, first you can just go to blackvoicesnetwork.com. You can hit the contact button. We'll respond to the email.
Blackvoicesnetwork.com. Okay.
We want to create a network for mass communications for Africans worldwide. So that means not only putting out ads and looking for business ads, but also putting out job hirings. And some of these jobs will only be local, but some of these jobs will be in Africa. And so we just want to be the conduit, the space where people can have these conversations and black people can have them worldwide.
I know that's right. Also, in terms of Black Voices Network, is there any particular projects you got going on locally here in the...
Well, right now we're covering politics. We're creating our own news, so we want to do like a weekly news where we talk about everything that's happening. As you can see with radio personalities going off the air on Hot 4.1 and other radio, we're seeing that communication is kind of being suppressed. Mm-hmm. It's time for us to kind of have our voices lended and talk to each other directly.
Okay, then, why is it important for folks who sitting there and saying right on to you, why should they be involved?
Because your life depends on it. Don't wait till Mike Brown or something happens somewhere else.
Or like Sandra Massey out in Springfield.
An hour away, right?
Yes.
You know, we got a lot of Mike Browns and Trayvons here, but don't wait till it's somebody in your family or somebody close to you for it to happen. We need to be preventative, and we need to care for one another in this community.
Absolutely. And why should they be concerned with what's taking place in Africa?
Because what's happening in Africa has happened to us. For every 10 Africans that they took over here and put us in chains, they kept 1,000 in Africa and kept their foot on their neck in chains. And so now we finally all realize who put the chains on us and that we don't have to live in bondage no more. And so now we reconnect. And so every piece of gold, diamond, a piece of chicken, rice, even that technology in that phone comes from Africa. And so that connectivity is our power and that land is our power.
All righty. And I truly appreciate your words of wisdom and encouragement to the audience. On that note, I want to thank you for being here again. And to the audience, a couple of things. One, for upcoming elections, get out and vote. But before getting out and vote, know the issues, as well as everybody as a badge or honor need to belong to an organization that speaks truth to power and working to uplift our people or humanity in general. So on that note, may God bless each and every one of you. And let me again salute you for donating that rice internationally in the country of Angola. And, you know, as an organization, we have done that, sending some food relief to Zimbabwe, books to Ethiopia and Ghana. So on that note, God bless everybody.